Yeah, mine's haunted and feeling right. Sometimes I think my mind's haunted. Sometimes I think my mind's haunted, yeah. Sometimes I think my mind's haunted and feeling right.
Yep, thanks for coming on, Harrison. Me and Cameron talked a little bit about our relationship with Harrison growing up. We're very tight as cousins. His mom is my mom's sister. So I am 2 years older than Harrison, or like a year and a half older, and kind of grew up with my mom. And my mom dropping me off at his house basically after or like before school and after school, and I spent a lot of time with his mom babysitting me, taking care of me and Harrison as we grew up together. So wanted to have him on because we have a great relationship and will have a great relationship going forward. I want to bring on pretty much everybody that I have in my life that's very important to me. So I'm glad that he was able to make it on today.
Yeah, appreciate being an early invite here to the BenBoh podcast.
Yeah.
Loved the episode with Cameron. Obviously, getting personal with our kind of life and our family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was very excited to be a guest. I was expressing before the podcast I haven't really been nervous or anxious, lately, but I'm a little nervous here on my first podcast appearance. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do great. Me and Cameron touched on like Cashen passing 2 episodes ago now. Tweez's episode is going to be dropping. You'll see that soon. So this is now the 3rd episode. But yeah, me and Cameron talked about Cashen, and it was I thought we got a good response. A lot of people like hit me up saying that they enjoyed to hear us talk about it, and in that way. Sure. I thought like it was cool. I thought it went well, and then it was just cool to share with you. I showed you a couple days before we actually dropped it. So
it was nice to see it all come together. I feel like you're very vocal about obviously that experience and everything, but I feel like it was nice to hear Cameron's perspective on it. I don't necessarily get to hear Cameron vocalize kind of his whole thought process there, so it was nice to kind of hear him express that. And I'm sure that was like, felt good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that later on.
Yeah,
in the
Cameron Cameron like kind of get doesn't always like not that he doesn't like to talk about it, but doesn't usually talk about it. So it was cool to hear him kind of get more in detail about it. Because I'm somebody that's very vocal and we'll bring it up, but that's not how everybody heals, and so it was cool to hear both of our perspectives though, I think, and but now we have you on, and I guess we'll touch on it that was a pretty crazy experience. I think it just it was just another example of just how close our family is, and like how we're able to pull together when in crisis and stuff like that.
It was for me, I guess we're going to touch on it now as opposed to later on in the episode, but I guess my experience was, similar to Cameron. I was like, we were both in college at this time, so we were both like kind of away from the family, at this point. And I, obviously being 2 years older than Cameron, had been in college for a little bit longer, so I was all the way in Mississippi. Actually, I was in Florida at the time, but I was going to school at University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. But we were on spring break, kind of like Cameron alluded to last episode. His spring break had just ended. Mine was in full swing. I was in Florida with my buddies. And yeah, just got a random call that, said Cashen was sick, and, it was very kind of hectic, next 24 hours, but ended up getting a flight back from West Palm, and got picked up by Matt at the airport. Drove over to Georgetown, and I don't even think I went home first. I think we went straight to Georgetown, which is the correction from last episode.
We said another place.
We said Johns Hopkins.
I guess she was at Georgetown.
It was Georgetown.
Yeah.
But whatever, that just goes to show you, you just forget those details, with so much going on. But I remember, I didn't even go home. I just went straight to Georgetown, from the airport. Matt drove me. Obviously just went right in the room, saw Sharon, saw Cashen, just broke down immediately in tears. And I think you guys kind of explain the rest of the story from there, but
yeah.
I mean, it was just wild to me. I think we had spring break, early in the year, pretty much. March. It was March, so it was March 16th. But we had just had Christmas break, so I was just at the beach with my parents and Sharon and Cashen.
Yeah.
So like I did have a great trip that I'll always remember, because it was just me and Cashen down there as opposed to like you and Cameron being down there like usual. Like it was
Right.
like one of the first times that like Cashen was like kind of more of an adult, like she was 16.
Yeah,
Or
she
about to be
could kinda
16.
hang.
She had just she was at good counsel, so we had a lot to talk about. Obviously, talking about teachers and classes and stuff like that. Since I had just gotten out of there, a couple
Yeah.
years before, but we got sushi, which is my favorite memory at that place at the beach, and we'll always go back there and it'll always be a good memory. But just a chaotic time when we got back, and just that following week, with the wake and the funeral and everything, and then getting back to school, and just getting right back into things was just I don't know, kind of like you guys said last time, it was like almost being out of touch with reality, kind of was like this dream state for a little bit. It was
Yeah.
like,
probably tough. I
how could
know.
anything else be going on, while this is going on? But it's like
Exactly.
the whole world doesn't stop
for you, yeah.
which was
you and
probably
Cameron had to
crazy.
go to school right then,
Yeah.
so it was tough on you guys, and I was working, so it was tough for me too. So it was like, but it is interesting always to hear like the last experiences or moments people had with Cashen, and like it's good always to hear when people say that they had like a nice last moment with her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like last time hanging out with her, like you were at the beach with her and got to bond with her, like maybe more so than you had in the past. And I think like, yeah, it's interesting.
Because I had been away for 3 years at that point,
Yeah.
So like it's like I hadn't seen really or chilled with Cashen for 3 years, I think.
And she was
probably
now
my junior
16,
year.
so she was older and
Yeah.
kind of had more to say.
Probably, she was different than the young Cashen
Than
that
the
I
younger
remembered,
Cashen,
like,
yeah.
when I left, so.
So that was always cool to hear when people say like just their last experiences with Cash, and even whether it was, I mean, everyone had good last experiences with her, so it was like, but it is interesting to kind of hear people's perspective of that, because everyone remembers the last time they speak to their loved one before they pass away, and like what they said to them, or what that like, exchange was like, and like, God forbid it wasn't a good exchange like that. Not for us, it was. I think everybody had a good exchange with her, but it was just like, you hear the stories of people who maybe like said something mean the last time they spoke with their loved one, and then they passed away, and now they regret that forever because like they think they didn't get to tell them that they loved them or whatever.
Yeah, I think for us too, like it's not even necessarily. We're very fortunate that we've gotten to spend a lot of time together as a family, like over our lifetime, which I think is probably like a good segue to like kind of talk about. Because Cashen, it wasn't just that last time, we got to see Cashen. We spent our whole life with Cashen, which starts, like, kind of in our early childhood. So, like, there's so many times that Cashen, was just with us all throughout the way.
Yeah, I mean,
That,
like you said, we grew up, Harrison's mom was, like, babysitting me as, like, a little kid, even, like, as I was a baby. So before Harrison was born, Harrison's mom was babysitting me, and then it turned into then Harrison was born, and now me and Harrison are basically, like, brothers growing up together. While my mom worked full time, and
Because you guys were living in Frederick.
we were living in Frederick, and Harrison was living in Rockville, Maryland, which for those of you that don't know, it's probably 45 minutes apart.
Yeah. With traffic,
with
DMV
traffic, could be like an
traffic,
hour,
which is
hour and a
crazy.
half. You know what I mean? So that was always like just kind of a far trip to make for my mom, obviously. But I mean, as a kid, it seemed normal because it was like, oh, cool, gonna go hang out with Harrison and see Trish.
And the reason we were all there was because our grandma at the time, for our whole lifetime, had Alzheimer's. So, throughout our lifetime, a couple different people in our family lived in my grandma's house and took care of her. But I think early on, I think you guys had lived there for a little bit. And then, when you guys were living in Frederick, I think we were living there. So my mom was always there. My mom acted as the primary caretaker for my grandma for, the early part of my life. So I was always over at Graham's.
Yeah.
It was always you guys coming down in the morning, you, Cameron, Cashen, obviously over the years, as we continue to do that. But I mean, we just spent like you said, every day after school
every
there.
day.
Like,
And we went to the same school, St. Jude's, and Cameron didn't go to St. Jude's. Cameron was at St. Peter's. So,
Did you go to Million Methodist, Cameron?
but yeah, earlier on, I guess. So like, I'm getting born. Me and Harrison are now like Harrison's born, and we're being raised by Trish pretty much, and then Cameron comes along a few years later, or a couple years later, and then we all kind of grow up together, and then Cashen comes a couple of years later after that, and then. But
so like we'd come home from school. Me and Ben would be at St. Jude's, which is right around the corner from where our grandma lived, which is where like a lot of our, aunts and uncles like went to school back in the day because it was our grandma's house from when they grew up.
Yeah. To give you an idea, my mom's like one of 7. His mom is her sister, so they're both one of 7 and 2 of 7, and they're the 2 youngest. But basically, everyone in our family kind of lives in this area still. So we have a very like big family that's all lived here kind of their whole life. That was always kind of interesting because like you would go to Graham's, but then a mile down the road was Barb's house, and that was where Matt lived, our cousin Matt, who we're good friends with, and Will. So, and then another mile down the road, Sue lives there, and then Harrison ended up moving a few years later into the similar neighborhood near Barb, who
5 houses down.
5 houses down from Barb. So everyone kind of lived in Rockville in a similar area, and then there was a few people that lived a little bit elsewhere. But everyone was in Maryland, so that was cool. And our Uncle Skip lived a mile down the road. We got Mushroom over there fucking with the brownies. We just made pot brownies, and now Mushroom's messing with the tinfoil. So sorry if there was any.
Sorry for the distraction.
Sorry for the distraction there. But no, yeah, I mean, we went to the same school, St. Jude's, and every day we would come home and hang out after school.
Yeah, any like family members could be over. It would be like any variation of Sharon, Barb, Skip, Sue, Mary Jo, Nancy. Like it literally could be anyone.
Yeah, our family's really close, and they hang out together all the time. So when we would get home from school, it would not only be our parents there, but then like aunts and uncles would be there too, like hanging out. So
like
almost
too,
and friends too, exactly. So. You'd come home and it wouldn't just be your parents there; it would be another family there usually, or Skip would be there. Uncle Skip, has always been a big part of both of our lives growing up, and he would play this game called Loopers with us, which he created, which was just basically him kicking a football to me and Harrison, and we would Cameron, and we would all compete to catch the ball basically, and he named it like a silly name called Loopers, but so we loved it. Kids.
This game was like we lived for this game for a little bit. Like we had he had everything from, so think of a game where you're punting a football in the air, and you got 3 people kind of like out there catching the punts.
Yeah.
And depending on how high the punt is or how low the punt is, that was kind of the name. So you started out with a baby looper, which was like a little short kick right in front of Skip. He would go with the tree ball, which you would kick in the tree, and you had to like kind of find it through the trees and then catch it.
Yeah, every kick had a different name to it.
And super duper looper.
And so you knew what to expect, but he wouldn't say it until like right before he kicked the ball. So it was always like fun to just guess what he was gonna do, and then like when he did do it, try to compete. I mean, I was the oldest one for a long time. It really does matter when you're a kid, like age and just a couple years can really do a lot for just your advantages in terms of athleticism. So,
unless your younger cousin, gets a little bit taller than you, and
right, yeah. I mean, Harrison eventually got taller than me, but it was still like as we were kids, like I think I'm still taller than him at this point, and it's like. It just was fun. I obviously had the advantage, and I loved it because I was always winning. But Cameron was always super athletic and was able to hang with us. So it actually made it super competitive.
It's funny because Cameron at the time was the football star, at St. Peter's.
Yeah, Cameron played football and was always really good at football as a kid, like little kid, and really was able to compete with us even though we were so much older than him. So it was fun, and we.
I'd say sports were like a big part of our growing up, throughout just St. Jude's playing, basketball, football.
Yeah, we all played the
soccer
same
earlier
sports
on,
pretty much.
baseball. We were super competitive.
We would go to each other's games and stuff, and our whole family again was like close, so they would also show up to the games. So it was always like we were blessed to have that childhood of like having a lot of like adult figures around that were our family members that were looking out for us, that all kind of had a similar mindset just in terms of they were very responsible and
Yeah.
adults that were living a life that was successful. So it gave us role models to look up to. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, we lived, definitely in a good area. We were, blessed to go to a private school, and
Right.
I think we had, probably the option. Our parents had the option, but they wanted us to kind of go where they had gone. Because obviously I think they would credit, kind of their upbringing to that a little bit. So
Yeah, our parents
where
are.
we ended up.
I mean, I know my mom specifically is very religious, and your mom grew up in a religious family. So that was a big thing. Was just going to a Catholic school because my mom actually went to St. Jude's as well. So that's where I went when I was a kid, which is a small Catholic private elementary and middle school.
Parochial.
So it was parochial school from K to 8, and that was where I went from first grade. After we moved from Frederick, I went there from first grade to 8th grade, and that's where Harrison went too. So we both went to the same school. Cameron was at St. Peter's, which was in Olney, 15 minutes down the road. So we were all kind of
All
in
two
the same
grades
similar
apart,
area, and we're all
including
2
Cashen.
grades apart. And Cashen was also 2 grades apart. So Cashen was, again, a little bit younger than us, obviously growing up, and she was a girl. So when we were playing sports, it wasn't like she was always involved. But then once she started to get a little bit older, I mean, actually, even though she wasn't involved, she was still coming to our games and was still very much a part of hanging out. And obviously we were all together all the time.
Yeah, we'd be out playing loopers. She'd be inside with Trish, drawing or baking
Doing
up something.
Yeah, she was always trying to hang out with the kids in the neighborhood. If there was
Yeah, actually, that's what she was doing.
if we were outside playing, she was knocking on the door of the neighbor, finding their little kids to take care of and babysit. Basically,
Yeah,
she would find kids to babysit.
Boss them around.
Not even boss them around. I don't think she was always just trying to take care of them, play like mom. She liked to be the mom.
Yeah.
I think, and that's why it was another reason it's so sad she died young is because you never got to see her get to do that, and that was probably she would have been a great mom,
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean, the one thing that I don't know if everyone hears about Cashen is that she was I would say the primary caretaker, or the primary kind of person for Nancy when Nancy got cancer. She was
Nancy, yeah, who's also both of our mom's sisters. She passed. When did she pass? 2015.
right after Cashen.
After Cashen. Okay.
12 months after, which was the craziest thing because our Aunt Nancy got cancer and fought cancer for years, and
Cashen was with her the whole
Cashen
way.
would
pretty
go with
much,
her
and
to
hang out.
Boston and Florida.
Go with her to appointments and go she was there supportive, hanging out with her when she wanted to hang out, and she was that person in our family that took that responsibility to kind of be that extra helping hand with our Aunt Nancy when she needed somebody to go with her to these appointments to make her feel more comfortable. And
Which is crazy because I got a little taste of that. I mean, Cashen did it for years, but when Cashen passed away, that following summer, so Cashen passed away in March. That following summer, Nancy was going through radiation, so I was home from college, and I instead of working at Allstate with you, at that point, which I want to talk about next, but because those were good times, but I took Nancy to radiation, and I was just Cashen would have probably been doing that, if she could drive or something, or maybe me and Cashen would have been doing it together or something. But I was picked to being home from school, I was picked to drive Nancy to these appointments at Johns Hopkins. That's why I know the difference because I had to go to Johns Hopkins. But I just got a taste of that, and it was just so tough to go there with Nancy and just kind of see what she was going through. So it was crazy that Cashen had been doing that for years, and just had probably seen so much.
yeah.
And then for Cashen to pass away before Nancy was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me it was Cashen had done a lot, and I think life goes by so quickly that she went from being a little kid to being a responsible young woman pretty quick, and I wish I kind of had noticed that more, because it's hard to really see. You always see your little sister as your little baby sister.
Yeah.
So for me, it was I always kind of saw her as much younger than me and little, but she was far from little when she died. So
I mean, it's also a lot of things. I mean, a lot of that, I've gathered, kind of after the fact. It's you look back and it's okay, that's what was happening. It's you don't appreciate it in the moment, but it's you look back and it's damn, that was some hard stuff to be doing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Especially
I mean,
being so young.
exactly.
She didn't
but
care.
she was
She, like,
probably
enjoyed it, you
growing
know?
up. Well, that's part of growing up is like going through hard stuff like that, and she was like that was probably helping her grow up. And,
Yeah.
But she like that's what I mean. Like she was much more mature in her head. Like to be able to go through that is like you have to like be very mature and smart. And like kids are always smarter than you give them credit to be. And she wasn't really a kid anymore. I mean, she was 16, a young woman.
Right.
So it was like, yeah. Just for me, I kind of wish I had taken notice to that more and like kind of dug deeper into her brain and picked her brain a little bit more because I'm sure she had a lot to say that I maybe didn't give her credit for like having that experience or having experienced enough or like you never really because I'm not with her all the time, so I don't know what she goes through, but like from the ages of whatever 12 to 16, I know I went through a lot, and
Oh yeah.
you learn a lot, and you have a lot to say at the age of 16 once you get to that age, and you really feel like you're old and
For sure.
feel like you like know what you like. You feel like you know what
I mean, I know we certainly were thinking that we knew everything that there was to know when we were 16, you know?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
were
we
we doing?
definitely thought you knew like what you liked and like what was good for you, you know.
We were out causing a ruckus. Cashen was like such a good person.
Yeah,
Like, you know, I feel like she wasn't out causing trouble.
sure.
I feel like we were out, like, you know, sneaking out, and
Yeah,
She wasn't causing too much trouble.
she wasn't causing too much trouble.
She
like
was
we
causing a little bit of trouble, but not a lot. Yeah, I mean, we had already done like everything that she. I mean, it's not like we were really doing too much though that other kids weren't doing. We were just having fun growing up, sneaking out of our house when we had sleepovers, going. Well, not like we were doing anything crazy. We would go to like, you know, the school or go to another friend's house and just like hang out or like. I don't know that we were usually up to any like
I mean-
vandalism or anything. Usually, maybe.
No, that's not what I meant, but yeah, we were just out and about.
Yeah.
We were out and about. I mean, you know, at the beach, me and Ben, one thing that me and Ben did a lot together was I would always go to the beach, and since I'm an only child, which I don't think I've mentioned, you know, growing up, you know, Ben, Cameron, Cashen, they were like siblings to me because I didn't have any siblings. So like, but I only, when we went on vacation, you know, I couldn't take all of them, so I could, you know, Ben was the closest in age to me. He was older than me, so he was able to do everything that I could do, and you know, kind of helped me push the limits of what I was able to do as well. So like, we kind of utilized that to our advantage. You know, we would go to the beach with my family, and you know, we would go out, take the bus, you know, go down to the boardwalk, you know, try to pick up chicks,
Yeah.
and
You can answer that if you want.
No,
Tell
it's
me
all
on the
good.
podcast.
it's all good. I'll talk to Bob later.
Yeah. No, yeah, we
appreciate you got the shout out.
we
in
went to the
middle
beach a
podcast.
lot. That was a like big part of growing up, and I still love the beach to this day because it just makes me feel like that's the place I can like really relax. I'm talking about Ocean City, Maryland. But we grew up going down there. Harrison would take me with his parents, and they were nice enough to do that on more than one occasion. And so not only were we hanging out together growing up, but we were going on vacations together. So me and Harrison are pretty much brothers, and you know, Cameron also would come on these vacations too sometimes, and we would also go on vacations as families together.
Right.
So there'd be a lot of times when we would rent one house for all of the whole family, or we would both rent two different houses and like near each other, and both have like beach houses that were close by that we would hang out. And now to this day, Harrison's parents have a beach house, and my parents also rent a beach house close by. So it's kind of the same thing to this day.
They were talking, you know, back in 2009, which is crazy because back in 2009, like the only people that had beach places were our Uncle Skip, which is like where a lot of our family would stay, and our Aunt Denise, who's not technically our aunt, but you know, we call her Aunt Denise. She's very close family friend.
Yeah.
But they had beach houses literally right next to each other, two like townhouse beach houses right on the water, incredible view in Fenwick Island, right next to each other. Like bought them as they were being built, the lots next to each other, and we had some great times there. Between I think 2009 and until whenever my parents got their beach house, which was like such a pivotal, I feel like, moment in my beach career.
Yeah.
Because it just changed the way you go to the beach.
Yeah.
Like I can just go to the beach whenever I want now, which is crazy. But like it was something that like it was awesome because I knew my parents always wanted a beach house, in a boat and stuff like that. And for a lot of their life that they had to pay for me and stuff like that, and they just weren't in the position to have those kind of things. It was awesome to see them accomplish that. Something
they've always wanted a beach house, so like you said, so
now they love it, and they're gonna retire there, and we'll maybe retire there, keep a foothold here, but it's great to get out on the beach. And now Barb. So we mentioned earlier in the podcast that my parents live on the same street as my Aunt Barb. Fast forward to now at the beach, my parents bought a beach house a couple years back, and now Barb just built a house on our street at the beach. So we're about 5 houses up, 2 streets.
Same street again.
Same street again. And then most of the family has beach houses. Most of our parents' siblings have beach houses. So
a lot of people are now retiring down there, so they're selling their houses here and moving down there. So
a lot of family time is spent at the beach these days.
Yeah,
when everyone's together. But speaking of spending time with family, we got Thanksgiving tomorrow. Are you excited for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Thanksgiving food guy. I'm like the 1% in the 1%. Yeah, I'm a very picky eater. So I do turkey, obviously, but I don't really do any of the sides. So other than like mac and cheese and like obvious stuff, I mean, I don't like mashed potatoes. I don't like most like baked vegetables. Like I just don't like how that tastes. So I have a hard time with I don't like stuffing. I don't like baked whatever. So I don't like a lot of
food.
Stuff.
Are you excited to see the family? Because
I'm excited
last
to see
year
the
was
family.
a COVID year. We didn't get together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see the family. My mom. Everyone's excited. Everyone's like, it's still COVID, so people are like kind of freaking out about that still, I feel like. But hopefully it'll be,
hopefully we'll all be
fine.
all right.
Yeah, everybody will.
I think at this point, everyone wants to get together, and I think everyone's taking proper precautions, and I think we'll be good.
No, we'll be good. Yeah.
But,
so let's go back and talk more about the beach and how. Or just like kind of growing up, and there was one time at the beach where we got in trouble, and this is
the troublemaking.
A good story, because I guess this is the troublemaking you were talking about. We weren't really we never got in trouble with a lot, other than like me beating up Harrison.
We were never doing anything
wrestling,
bad.
Wrestling and like
other
hurting
people.
each other. Like sure, we got in trouble for that, but like other than endangering people.
Wait, quick fun story is Ben used to pull my arm out of the socket all the freaking time we were younger.
Yep.
We used to play, the scene in The Lion King where
Scar kills Mufasa. We would reenact that scene a lot and reenact a lot of other movie scenes. But I'd pull his arm out of his socket because his arm was developing still.
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I still have that problem to this day. Like my arm,
he
put
get
it
in
the
trouble.
wrong way,
So we
it
would
would
hurt each
dislocate.
other. And that's the extent of that's really the extent though of our troublemaking as kids is hurting each other. But then one time, as I started smoking pot in sophomore year of high school. I think was the first time I did. Junior year is when I really started to do it a lot. But sophomore year, I smoked weed for the first time, and I think a few months after that, Harrison smoked for the first time. And Harrison was a couple years younger than me, so Harrison's only in 8th grade.
So what I'm talking about is Ben was always allowing me to push the limits 2 years ahead of where
Harrison
I was
always
at.
also looked older because he was taller than me, or tall as me at this point, and maybe a little taller, and
probably
so basically Harrison started smoking. We both started smoking weed with our friends and stuff, usual high school stuff.
This was very much an occasional. At this time, was very much an occasional for me at least.
Sure, yeah, and I started smoking for me it was
we weren't smoking heavy at that point.
Yeah, at that point it wasn't heavily. No, I probably smoked I said junior
So
year.
it's
was when I started to smoke
it
every
was
day.
harder to find.
Sophomore year was still before our parents knew we smoked. So really, there's when your parents know and then before your parents know. That's always a big pothead time change. So we got caught at the beach for the first time. Harrison got caught. I had already been caught by my parents. I got caught.
Of course,
my mom found my weed in my room and in my sock drawer. I'd hid it in my sock drawer and she found it, and then she left a note on my pillow. just saying like we need to talk, like, and the note said like you've been making like wrong decisions, like we need to talk about your decisions. I actually saved the note for a long time because I knew it was gonna be funny like one day to look
That's
at.
great.
But
you know, it's so funny. It's like, you know.
Yeah, so
funny
then
that you like brought
my
weed to the
mom
beach.
knew, and like, but my mom didn't tell Trish that I had gotten caught because I guess she was embarrassed or whatever. Because that's the only reason she wouldn't tell Trish is because she like tells Trish, because she tells Trish everything. They talk like they pretty much tell each other everything. But I think the only reason she wouldn't have told Trish is because she didn't like, she cares what people think. That's just how my mom is. So she would just be like, she probably didn't want to tell her because she was embarrassed that I'd been
At the time, it seemed so like, you know, fast forward, it's 2021. Weed's like legal at this point.
Yeah.
Like so much has changed since this happened, but like at the time, you know.
Yeah, the late
Weed is the
2000s,
devil.
it was still
Weed was
like
the devil.
bad and like illegal in Maryland. So yeah, we're now at the beach, and you know we snuck out and we went to our friend's house and smoked, and we got caught on the way back. You know, they realized we snuck out and they followed us actually, and
We had no clue. We had no clue.
had
They
no
followed
clue
us.
they had followed us.
They followed us
And then
back. I
when we
remember
got-
specifically looking back and being like, "Who are these people following us?"
yeah, we saw them like in the distance, like saw like two people like in the distance far away, and we weren't sure that they were like, we definitely didn't think it was his parents. But we
This
were
is
like,
like
whatever.
still early. This is like first,
Shook
second
it
time
off.
smoking. Like
Yeah, so
this
we're
is like
really
you're, like,
high.
Like yeah,
Yeah,
This is almost like a psychedelic experience.
Super high on the way back, like just having smoked for like, you know, we're still kids getting high, so we're stoned as fuck on the way back. Like, get home, and we realized like once we got home, I realized like we got caught because
Like, the bed was
the
made.
door had been opened or something. Like we had closed the door and now the door's open.
Like the bed was
And
made.
the bed was
stuff.
made, and like so they wanted us to know, I guess, that like, so whatever, we knew that we were caught, but we didn't know any more than that. And then like I guess they had followed us to the house that we went and smoked at, and then like got close enough to the house
Confirmed that
to the
we were-
point where like they were able to smell weed and like realize we were smoking weed. So somehow I guess they knew we had smoked weed or like suspected it, and then they got home and saw us like high as shit. So then they knew we smoked
Well,
weed.
correction. Ben was in the shower.
Yeah, I got home and knew we got caught, so I immediately jumped in the shower. I like got home and just went in the shower. I was like, fuck, like Harrison's parents found out. Like my parents aren't at the beach, they're, you know, home. So like I'm like, all right, well, I'm going in the shower. I don't feel like getting yelled at by like Harrison's parents. But I didn't think they knew that we smoked. So I was like, I went in the shower. I showered for like probably 25 minutes, and then I like got out because I knew that I heard him like yelling at Harrison, and I was like trying to like just shower until they left. But I think I like showered until they left, and then I got out. And then I got out, and then Harrison was like, yeah, like they just yelled at me, and like
Like I was honestly like, you know, like,
they knew.
like
we
I said,
smoked.
like this was like first couple times smoking. Like you're like extra high. Like you ever having a psychedelic experience. Like I was like. You couldn't bring me down at that point. Like they were like yelling at me. They were like, all right. Like I was like smiling. Like they were like, all right, we'll just talk to you in the morning. Like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you were like giggling.
Like it was just like past the point of no return.
Had
Like,
your eyes all
they were like, all right,
red
we'll
and-
talk to you in the morning about this.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously that was kind of start of like, you know, kind of a little back and forth that happened
Yeah,
throughout high
your
school,
mom
but-
told us that she cried herself to sleep that night, though. So it's just like that's how it goes, though. When you find that your kid's smoking pot for the first time, I guess you're just like
guess
so
so.
shocked that they're growing up and maybe doing things that could hurt them. So yeah, I mean, I went through a lot as a kid, like getting in trouble too, like just bad luck and stuff. Like I would get like alcohol citations. I got like 1 or 2 like marijuana like citations. So like there was a lot of that too. That like my parents thought that like I was just gonna end up in jail because of this shit. So that was going on a lot. But it was between the ages of like 14 and like 17. So it was just like I was so young and like just like I don't know. That's just part of growing up, I feel like. But like,
If you look back to that time, do you think that you were like being reckless?
no, not at all. I look back to that time, I was doing exactly
Like
what
when you
everybody
got
else
when you
was
had your
doing.
like car you don't think you were like being reckless at all?
No, not really. I mean, I'd still drive my car fast. You know what I mean? I still
You don't drive as fast as you used to.
sure maybe I was being a little reckless, but like at the same time, it's like
I feel like you've said that yourself in the past. Like like at
You
one
just
point, like
learn-
when you were like early in high school, you were like.
when you first got your license,
yeah.
I mean, when you first get your
I guess all of
license,
us were
and
a
when
little
you're a
bit.
first kid, you just don't know. Like, all right, if I do this, I'm probably gonna get in trouble. Like, you're pushing limits to find out. Like, all right, can I do this and get in
Right,
trouble?
right.
Like, if I could, like if a lot of things I did and didn't get in trouble for, I would probably still be doing them. But I got in trouble, so it like taught me a lesson.
I guess
so it was
I
like,
had
maybe I can't.
I guess I got to see, you know, like people push the limits.
Yeah, I
got to see you push the limits. So I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I can't do all that.
Exactly, I would show
And
people what
I
not
learned
to
be
do,
a little
basically.
bit more discreet and
Yeah.
didn't necessarily get into, you know, any trouble.
I mean, to this day though, I actually like that I did that though, because now it's like,
You live and you learn.
well, that and I was always myself, and I just like, people know who I am, and they're like, I'm not hiding anything, and it's like, I never was, and like, that's just who I am. I'm not gonna like hide stuff. Like, I'm just gonna like do what I do, and like, and apparently, like, I got, like, back then, you used to get in trouble for doing shit like that. So it's like
when
it
you're
was just
when you're a
unfortunate.
child, when you're not an adult, you get in trouble for
Yeah.
doing stuff.
But
is
whatever, like,
crazy.
now it's cool because
Because we're all grown up.
we're all grown up,
Yeah,
and we have a different relationship now with that stuff and other things. We're just like, we're more respected because we're working now. We're getting our own, you know, we're living on our own, or, you know, you just moved back in with your parents actually, but you're planning to buy your own house very soon, and we're all kind of like moving on with our lives. So, and you have a great job and I have a great job and we're doing well. So, now it's like we laugh about all these stories when we talk about it with our parents, because it's like, you know, remember that was funny. Like, we thought it was the end. They thought it was the end of the world. I think it's funny because they look back at it and they laugh at themselves because they're like, yeah, we did think it was like one
Dude,
thing, and it wasn't that big of a deal.
Isn't
Like,
it crazy that all this, like, I feel like as we talk about it, it just feels like it was like yesterday. But like, how old? Like, I'm 27. You're 28.
Yeah, time goes by fast. Like,
28,
28. Time goes by fast.
Goes by.
You know, it feels like you were a kid one day, and then, you know, now you have to pay bills and
One of the
figure it out.
craziest like quotes I've ever heard is like, one day you just go out for the last time, like with your, like, you know, your neighborhood best friend, you know, your childhood best friend, and it's like, that was the last time you guys went out and hung out. Like, you know, you just didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. Like, that's what I feel like.
For
with, like,
me,
a
it
lot of
wasn't
stories.
like that, because it was a gradual thing that I saw coming, and I'm still trying to fight it to this day. And everyone else kind of just like gives into it, like growing up, the whole growing up thing, and like kind of feeling like you have to change and like whatever. I feel like I'm somebody that's like, nah, I'm holding on to. I'm never gonna like grow up, quote unquote. Like, I'll always be the same kid that, like, you know, like that's what I'm. That's why it's like. But a lot of people, I feel like, kind of feel like they have to change because they have to do certain things. And I get about like being responsible. That's definitely one thing. Yeah. But like, I don't know. It's just interesting how people like become an adult and then kind of like lose some of the joy. They lose themselves a little bit. Yeah.
What they used to be.
What they used to like. And
see, I mean, I get what you're saying. Totally get what you're saying. I agree with that with some people, and I think other people, like, for me, like, I just think I find myself like an always adapting person. You know, I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to improve myself. You know, my skills, my, you know, value that I can bring to any situation or whatever. You know, mainly speaking professionally, but you know, I just feel like, you know, you always got to leave room for yourself to adapt and grow.
Yeah.
You know, why cut yourself off at a certain point when there's so much more to know and learn? And
yeah, I think though, like by the age of like 16, you know what you like, and I think it's just up to you then at that point to like get better at that.
Right.
Like,
I see those as your core values.
Yeah.
You know, those don't change.
Right.
But like, you know,
you establish your core values, and then you just get better at like living by that.
Your surroundings are ever changing, so you gotta adapt. You know.
Yeah.
But like, you can't lose yourself in that. You can't lose your core values. Some people definitely do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do. You know, like especially when they get like more successful and stuff like that. You know.
Right. They're willing to step on people's, you know, faces just to get to somewhere, and it's like.
But at the same time, like, that's no reason not to strive to be successful. So like, I think the big thing is just strive to be successful, but also strive to be ethical and, you know, a good person.
You just never have to, whatever you think you have to do, you never have to do anything to be successful. Like, so never think like, I have to do this or I have to do that in order to be successful. It's like, you can do what you want to do. You just have to work hard at it, and you know what I mean? And then that'll eventually bring you success.
Success is like the idea, the definition of success, I think, is for like each individual to make up. You know, it's like, what is your definition of success? You know, I mean, whatever. If you're not like someone that strives for success or whatever, you don't have to focus on something like that. But like, if you're someone that wants to be successful, like, don't let someone else tell you what successful is. You decide what
Exactly.
successful
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
and strive for that.
It's all
and
opinion. Like for me, it's just my opinion is like success is maintaining your core values, maintaining who you are, and
But you always want to be a better rapper, like
exactly.
you know,
Yeah, you're just getting. That's what I said. You figure out what you want to do and then get better at it. But you don't like. I don't know. Like you don't just go and like do something you hate. Like you know what I mean? Just because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Because
like I enjoy
yeah
my job,
And everyone should. Everyone should enjoy their job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Everyone should.
But if you don't enjoy your job, you should find something that you enjoy.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And a lot of
don't
people,
feel like you have to like do that job because it's the only thing that's out there.
Have confidence in your abilities that you've gained from that job that you're in there.
Right.
To take on to the next role,
Yeah.
So like that's my philosophy,
I think when I got
Know your
kicked out
value,
of
know your
good
worth.
counsel, that was something that really like made me switch my core values and like kind of like decide like, all right, like maybe I like
Switch them, or like you maybe added them, or like
no, I think like I mean
reinstilled them.
well, I just like yeah, I guess that's not the word. I guess that's just not the core values. It was more
You
like
you learned them. You like really truly probably learned.
well, I just
what you were
realized
sort
what I was like, who I was, and
change
like
them.
I didn't change them. No,
it made you realize what they
just
were.
made me realize what they were, and like that I wasn't like a bad person for. Because what happened was I got like kicked out of good counsel, the high school that me and him ended up going to, because we ended up going to the same high school as well. So I was there for 2 years, and then he was going to come. And then that third year that I was going to be a junior, he was going to be a freshman. I got kicked out at orientation.
Literally.
I got in trouble orientation of junior
My first
year
day
because
of school at good counsel.
was in a car that got in an accident coming into the school.
Not your fault at all.
And which is not my fault. They took me to school that day, but I had smoked pot. Or I'd blazed beforehand and got picked up and taken to school. So somehow or another, like it got out that I was high in the car and like, which shouldn't matter. I'm in the back seat, like getting driven to school, whatever. So they were mad that I
Shouldn't even have
shouldn't have come up.
An
Like
irrelevant.
it's an irrelevant thing. Like there was an accident. That's what should have been the focus. But somehow it turned to like me being high was like the only thing that they cared about. So they like kicked me out for being high.
And like that's what I was saying about like that redefines your values, because like at that time, like we're at a Catholic school, we've been taught, all these values of like like you make a mistake, you should be forgiven for that mistake, and you should be helped to like change your ways and stuff like that. And it's like at that time, you were very impressionable sophomore, junior in high school, and this school that taught us forgiveness and all this stuff,
Right.
literally just turned their back on you and just said
banned
like
and
you're
like,
out.
Yeah.
So like how would that not change how you looked at all those values you'd been taught? So it's like at that point you gotta like be like, all right, well this is what I've learned. These seem to be the values that are true to me, and it's like these other ones, it doesn't seem like you guys are expressing it. So that, whatever. That's my take on it. 'Cause I feel like I was pretty close to the situation. And that's my thoughts on it.
No,
It's
yeah.
like,
Beforehand,
how could they turn their back on you? Because I got in trouble later on, and they didn't do that to me. Like it's like I feel like you were just almost made an example of, which we see so many times in like modern society today. It's like people just being made an example of, and it's like. There's just this like kind of almost like false narrative of like what even happened. It's like, why did this person even, like, why were they even in that situation? Like, why is it being blown up to be like this big of a deal?
Yeah,
And
is it even that big of a deal?
Yeah, it's like no, this person just like
right.
nothing would. You didn't even do anything wrong. It's the craziest thing looking back.
Yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's just that. No, yeah, I guess like it
like
taught
power
me
hungry, like
for a while. I was very
disciplinarian,
resentful. I was very resentful for a long time.
And why wouldn't you?
It was like it just made me hate everything that had to do with good counsel. It made me hate every kid that went there. Like it made me I took it overboard because it was like, all right, now it's like
Which is
hate
terrible.
Good counsel,
Which is terrible because like it's because I had a great experience there. So it's like terrible that your experience was literally like ruined by like I said, a power hungry disciplinarian, and like
But it almost made me
other
realize
people,
though like what I mean it's just like what like I don't know. Like you say you had a great experience, but I think you would have had even better experience at Sherwood, because Sherwood's just that much more real and that much more like you really would have. Like you would have like there would have been like so many more different cultures there. Like when I went to Sherwood, that was the best experience I could have ever had, because like it really like I was like, whoa, this is real life. Like I didn't know what real life was until I went to Sherwood, because now you really see every single every single economic from the richest to the poorest all in one school, and it's like everyone is different and everyone is like, you have every ethnicity there, and everyone kind of has to get, especially at Sherwood, because there was like a lot of, both white and black and Asian, and like every race was there. So it was like, that was really cool just to be able to like get to know like that, like you said, a lot of the things that I had been taught like were not true at all. Like it just like has nothing to do with like, it's really more about like just being a good person, and you really, like you said, the golden rule, like treat people how you want to be treated, not like, is your shirt tucked in? Is your, like there's certain things that just like they yell at you for at private school that will never affect you or like help you in a real life situation. But like, yeah, I mean, both are definitely good. Private school, one thing for sure was the economics were harder. So or not the economics, the academics were harder. So I definitely like it was harder at Good Counsel, so probably prepares you more for college. So that's probably the one thing that I would say a private school is really good for, is preparing you for that next jump into college. We ended up working for the same company for a second after, college. Or I guess you were still in college, and
I was in college, and you were.
I
You
didn't
decided not to
graduate.
go to
Yeah, I went for a year and a half, and then took a few classes. Didn't continued to work for Allstate Insurance. Allstate Insurance was owned by one of my family members, and I had an opportunity to work for him, and I got my license to sell insurance. So I started working for Allstate, and Harrison was in school at this time at Ole Miss, and would come home, and during the summer would work, at Allstate with me in the office. So that was cool because I was always, I had a hard time at Allstate just from being in the office all day every day. As a
young boy,
18, 19, 20, 21, so it's just like
all day.
it was tough. So when Harrison came to visit, it was always cool. You know what I mean? Had somebody there to not be the only younger person there and hang out with. So we had some interesting experiences.
So let's just describe this office. So like we're in Beltsville, Maryland, just down the street from like College Park. Mainly a like Spanish speaking neighborhood. So like a lot of the people that were coming in off the street were like mainly Spanish speaking, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a Spanish speaking agent. First it was Jimmy. Remember Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy was cool.
So right when I came in, it was actually our other cousin Amanda was also working there for a little bit. Like the first time I came in, like early on, like right when I started college, she was a year younger than me.
She was doing what you were doing. You guys were both kind of just filing and
running the front desk.
Yeah.
Like if clients came in and needed to wait, like we would take care of them. And like just file. Yeah, do a lot of filing and scanning. Maybe make some outbound calls to like get payments or something like that, like collection calls and stuff like that. But
yeah,
mainly just like do whatever needed to be done that David told you to be done. Maybe take the check to the bank, stuff like that. But yeah, mainly Spanish people coming in. So you had Jimmy, the Spanish-speaking agent. So he had like a lot of the people coming in. So it would just go like one person would go to Jimmy, one person would go to Ben. Yeah. I would probably be in the front, and then David was all the way in the back.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty busy office, wouldn't you say?
It was. We had a lot of walk-ins. A lot of crazy people from the street would walk in and like not know anything about insurance.
It was like a little language barrier. It was always like tough, and it was like. Yeah. There's always like a little confusion, but like we always got it done.
No, it was cool. I mean, I had learned a lot just selling insurance and having to deal with a lot of different people. You learn how to talk to different people. Yeah. You learn how different people's mind works. So it's cool to. It was a good experience, definitely. I was able to save some money, and that helped me catapult my music career. The money I made, from that. So. Nice. It definitely was worth it. You know what I mean? I was there for 6 years, 7 years. So selling for 5 of it.
I will say that every time I came in, I was always impressed at like kind of your I don't know, professionalism, or like just how you like worked with clients and stuff like that. All your clients seemed to like you.
Yeah.
You seemed to like know what you were doing and stuff like that. I swear, like being an insurance agent is something you can always be like on the side.
Sure.
I don't like if you ever need to source some money. I think. Going back to that wouldn't be like a,
Yeah, insurance was just something that, it's definitely, like you said, something I have in my back pocket now for the rest of my life. I could always go back to it. So it just isn't the funnest thing in the world.
No,
it's definitely something that you can do.
very boring,
But yeah, it's cool. So that was good money making. Like I said, so making that money, I think that's what I would encourage a lot of people to do is not the money part, but get a job if you don't know what you want to do and you don't want to go to college. Get a job right away. That's has to do with either selling something or being in a professional business life setting as a youngin.
Because or go to trade school.
Yeah, or go to a trade school. But like anything that can teach you like
acquire a skill or something
like where you're really learning like either business or how to talk to somebody or experience to me is like something that can really be better almost than school.
Yeah,
so.
I think nowadays it's just becoming more and more like college isn't necessarily a necessity.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense for a lot of people. I don't think it makes sense for everyone, but
No.
I think there's a lot of other options, like especially with where we are, like right now with the labor crisis, there's plenty of labor work out there. There's plenty of, I think people are looking for good employees. So like, now is the time. Get out there and present yourself and present your skills and get yourself in a good situation. And, eventually try to be your own boss in some way, whether it's a side hustle or something like that, and invest in the stock market and
We've
real estate if you can.
Yeah, you've been in the stock market for a while now. I know I've looked into it a little too. We talk about it sometimes. That's something that's it's cool to like learn about.
I think
as a young man, something I never was really interested in, but as you get older as an adult, you start to try to find different ways to make money, and like one of the ways you can make money is investing, and stock market is one way to invest, and it's a good way to like get a good return on your money, and there's so many different companies that you can invest in, and you can see it in live time. So a lot of people like to just be able to invest in a company that they believe in and kind of see how it's going in live time and have their money go up or down with it, and hopefully up. And so it was cool when I first got into it. I think first time I invested in the stock market was through Robinhood like a year and a half ago, and I did pretty well. I followed my brother's plays, and we both kind of like ended up making a good amount of money off of Tesla, which was like seemed crazy because that was the first time I ever invested in the stock market. So I was like, all right,
let's take a step
I guess
back.
I'm never going to work again.
Let's take a step back and point out that the global pandemic created this kind of, a lot of people say once in a lifetime. There's only been a couple major events like this in the stock market's history where there's this major opportunity to buy in. Now it was obviously wasn't certain when the stock market almost crashed. Like right when the pandemic happened, but like I think we knew from at least the education, the stuff that we retained from school, like it really told me to like this is a good time to invest. And I think a lot of our friends and a lot of people our age took advantage of it and like started getting into the investing world. And I think it was a good move. And Cameron did well in getting into Tesla and riding that up when it was rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people like just kind of, it just became like a fad thing that like people were like tweeting about and Instagramming about. So now everyone got into it. But
I think it's kind of kept up its momentum. I think a lot of people are into
yeah.
crypto this year. The stock market has, I think, come back to more acting like the stock market usually does.
There's definitely a bunch of people into it, and if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. So it's like it's one of those things. It's like
I think it's
you're either like love or hate. Usually a relationship.
If you don't want to do it personally, I think it's important to get if you got a job, make sure your job offers a 401k. Make sure you're contributing to that. If you can, if you get a match, make sure you're doing the max match, 5% match typically. Do the stuff that's going to help you later. It's very easy to defer that money now.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to save your money. It's all about saving, and you don't want to just have it in your bank account because then it's not really getting any interest. So trying to figure out creative ways to invest your money, it could be through any different way. But yeah, to invest your money to then make money off of that investment. And usually it's best to have an investment that you can make money while you're sleeping rather than like having to invest in something that you then have to work to get back physically. Like
trying to figure it out.
Because a lot of people, that's stuff that I'm, coming to learn. So it's cool.
Yeah.
And then also, What else?
I think we should. You want to talk about like kind of your experience coming to visit me in college? You know, like kind of the perspective of like someone that didn't really go to a out of state college, coming down and visiting Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, out of Ole Miss was cool. It's a Southern school, so you had a lot. There's a lot of differences between where we're from and there,
Oh yeah.
and you
major,
liked it.
Major culture shock.
Yeah, you had fun there, so you
I'd have
ended up
blast.
graduating from there and did
You
well.
came. You came down for the Auburn Ole Miss.
I
game.
went down for a couple games. I had fun. I mean, every time I went down, it was for a short time, but it was like it was cool just to be able to get down and see the environment and just there's a bunch of kids all in one. I think college is just so cool because it's just about everyone's the same age. You could get like young adults all in the same area, like pretty much ready to party. So it's like it's just bound to be fun if you're there. You know what I mean? That's something that I missed out on. I definitely like kind of wish I had that college experience, but yeah, you can't have everything, and I've so it's just one of those things that. But it was cool to go visit you and like get to meet all the people in your frat and see the school and how crazy the fans like are there and how many people came for the game.
South.
And it's just the South is so different when it comes to like football and how much they love like SEC football is like another thing that I'd never been a part of. And if you haven't gone to an SEC football game, I highly recommend it because the way that they come together and celebrate is just crazy. There was just so many I remember there's like tents like all around set up for the tailgate that seem like when you're walking in the tents, it's like all just is one field with all tents. There's nothing but tents, so it's just crazy.
The Grove.
Yeah, the Grove.
If you ever get a chance to go to the Grove, I would highly recommend it. It's one of the most highly rated tailgates in college football.
And they were really good when you were there.
Yeah, we were. We were like top 10 in the nation. It was actually the game that you came for, believe it or not, was that game that Laquan Treadwell broke his leg going into the end zone against Auburn where we would have won. We ended up losing that game. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And heartbreaking for him, obviously, because he broke his leg and was out for the season. It was insane. No one knew what was going on. Same time, I was also there when we beat Alabama at home. We rushed the field, ripped down the goalposts.
Damn.
Took them back into the Grove and into the square to the bars.
Yeah, you had
That
like
was a
college
pretty nuts
game day
experience.
come a couple times.
College game day, yep. And then college game day was just there, like, a couple weeks ago. And we won again versus Texas A&M. So we're pretty good this year as well. So
Yeah, that's
nice
really
to see.
cool.
It's been the first time like they've been good since I left.
So I guess right now you work for what do you do for work?
Yeah, so now currently I guess like so I'll go back to like right after college. I'll kind of skip do a little fast forward. Right after college I came out, had definitely some like mental health stuff that I really wanted to get under control before I went out into the workforce. So I got that under control. Was definitely having some like major anxiety and stuff, and got that under control. Ended up working for a direct sales company selling copiers and printers. Pound the pavement sales job. Did that for 2 years. Thought that gave me a great foundation. Got very used to like rejection and just working for opportunities and grinding and stuff like that, and creating a schedule and following a process, I guess. So then I actually got recruited to another company in the commercial landscape industry, and I was a little skeptical. I was working for a very corporate company. I was wearing a suit every day, and I was like, went to this interview at basically a shop. Like it was like, not an office by any means. It was like literally a shop with like, trucks and equipment and all that stuff at it. And I was like, this is a big change up. But it was a big step up in role. I was going from being like one of 70 sales reps to being one of one, focusing on what I'm selling for my company. So what I do is I work with property managers and community managers and homeowners associations to set up their landscape contract for the year. So like every community, if you think about it, like your community here, like has like, random landscape features around it that someone has to maintain. And since everyone's a renter here, a portion of what you pay in rent, goes to those kind of fees and stuff like that. And, and ultimately there's a property manager that oversees that I work with, that we, basically do a bidding process and then vent that out and see if we're the right fit to do the services for the community or the property.
Okay.
So that's been cool. My company gave me the opportunity to really kind of install a process for the company. They had they brought me in really to bring on growth for the company. So they really didn't have a process, a sales process or anything before that. So I kind of brought that. They facilitated the structures and everything getting put in place, but I kind of helped with the recommendations of what needed to be put in place. And fast forward 2 years, I've been doing that for 2 years, and I feel like I've really hit my stride as of recently. We'll probably end up at the end of this sales season be, kind of at record levels that they, haven't done in a sales season before. So
Nice.
we'll be, experiencing some substantial growth because of that.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because the one thing that I've learned from working, being more involved in the management and the business side of it is that, not only does that create, a good opportunity for me to, either get a promotion or maybe get paid more or something like that, but, I see that it literally facilitates a bunch of other people getting to work. We have a lot of Spanish people and a lot of immigrants that work for us. Those are our guys that are on the crew, and they count on that work.
Yeah.
And if we don't have enough work for them, then they're not going to get as many hours as they need to, put food on the table and stuff like that and make the living they want to make. So by me producing new jobs for them to do, it allows us to hire more people, hire more management, stuff like that. So it's cool to be a part of that side of the business. And
Do you think your college degree? What did you get your degree in?
my college degree was in marketing and corporate relations, so it's a business.
Yeah. Did that help
Bachelor of
you
Business
for what
Administration.
you're doing now?
I would say a lot of it. I think more so majoring in marketing helped me market myself and learn the corporate relations part was really learning the ins and outs of the business. So I think yes, I think I was kind of predisposed to that. Kind of learned.
Helped you out a little bit.
I think I helped. I mean, I think I would attribute most of my success to just my parents and how they brought me up, and our families and people that have influenced my life. But I think college was definitely 4 years that influenced my life and kind of gave me I guess a bigger picture. I think if you never leave the place you grow up, you kind of have a narrow view of what is possible. Mm-hmm. Not saying everyone does, but I think something that college helped me do was take a big picture on the world and kind of see that there was a lot of different areas that you could succeed at.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just kind of found myself in this, and it's just I've found myself being passionate about sales and building relationships, and just really emphasizes what I've been good at my whole life, which was just
Talking to people.
just talking to people and being sociable and being empathetic and caring. When
getting
someone
to know somebody.
when someone proposes, they have a problem, I like to help them solve it. Whether it's in work or if the neighbor across the street needs help bringing his groceries in. It's I'm usually going to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're a people person, I'd highly recommend sales for anybody because it's a great way to make money. And there's if you're able to talk and really get to know somebody and put yourself in someone else's shoes, that's a good way to sell something.
And you're directly responsible for the product. The energy that you put in. It's kind of cliche. I think they say it all the time, but it's the energy you put in, you're gonna get back.
Yep.
And I'm definitely a believer in that. I'm definitely a believer in work hard, play hard. I don't think anyone would be geez, Harrison overworks. That dude never has any fun. I don't think anyone would say that. But at the same time, during the day, during the weekdays, I grind. And,
Right.
On the weekends I have fun.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what you gotta do. I mean, even if you're having fun with your friends, you still have to put in those hours, the hours in the week for anything that you want to do.
Yeah, in order to have fun and do what you want to do, you gotta kind of do some of the stuff that you,
Yeah, I mean,
or at least some of the stuff that facilitates it.
you're never gonna be reach your full capacity or full, potential.
Yeah.
If you're not putting in the hours. That's what everyone always says, and it's true because whether it's work or you're trying to be a famous musician or you're trying to be a famous athlete, you got to put in the hours when, you might be by yourself.
Yeah. Sure. Excuse me. It's just you. There ain't no one else that's like you're responsible for like everything that happens,
Yeah.
in this fucking, with your
life.
your body and your life, like you are literally responsible for everything. You can set your destiny in my mind. So
Yeah.
just gotta facilitate and do the things necessary to get to. Again, the idea of success should be up to you, and find a process to get to that.
Right.
I guess the one thing that I just want to say, was, in wrapping up all this was, I think the one thing, from just Cashen passing away and that whole experience was, I think it really just made me and I think a lot of the rest of our family really appreciate just every day, every time we get a chance to, be together and,
Yep.
do anything, it's like take the opportunity to experience life, when bad things happen, that aren't, like this, minor things, brush them off because they're not that big of a deal.
Yep.
In the whole scheme of things. So.
Yeah, any time now when we get together, it seems like we definitely don't take it as for granted as we maybe once did, because
not at all.
we realize it could be like the last time we see somebody, and like
Literally.
because now that's happened, it's now changed the way we all think and how we I'm sure everyone that does have kids now probably holds them a little bit tighter just because they realize something could happen, and God forbid that happens to anybody else in our family. Because it really was just affected everybody in the family, from my mom down to the last cousin that was born. It was everyone got affected because everyone had their own individual relationship with Cashen, and she again was such a nice person and such a good caring soul that everyone, you couldn't deny that she was nice, you know what I mean, and somebody that you wanted to get to know maybe a little bit more, and so everyone took their opportunity to get to know Cashen, I think.
Yep, and I think tomorrow at Thanksgiving we will, as a family, probably talk about some of that and definitely recognize our loved ones that aren't going to be able to be with us tomorrow, and appreciate the ones that are. It's been a tough year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, your dad earlier this year, which I feel like we haven't even mentioned, but with the...
Yeah, my dad had a heart attack earlier on this year, and it was really scary because we thought we were going to lose him, and then that was going to be only... 5 years after Cashen, so that seemed like it was deja vu almost.
Yeah.
But it was, luckily he ended up coming out of it and is doing really well now. So it was a scare, but
I feel like you'll have to do a whole single podcast on that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my dad on a podcast hopefully if he wants to one time. But yeah.
I was just saying that's an example of just how much we have to be thankful for this year. It's that was literally the beginning of this year. It's so crazy how slow time goes by, but we got a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for listening. This is the BenBoh podcast. Harrison Long is on as the guest, and
thanks for having me.
Hope you guys enjoy it, and happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time tomorrow.
Yeah, mine's haunted and feeling right. Sometimes I think my mind's haunted. Sometimes I think my mind's haunted. Yeah, sometimes I think my mind's haunted and feeling